Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order. It is Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, and it is now 6 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Roth. Here. Board Member Bailey.
Present.
Board Member Fletcher. Board Member Avila. Board Member Fairclough Staggers. Vice Chairman Guzman. Here. Chairman Lossner.
Here. All right, thank you all. Madam Director, are there any deletions or deferrals from tonight's agenda?
No, Mr. Chair.
Very good, thank you. Tab 1 is the approval of the minutes. We have before us the minutes of our board meeting of July 20th, 2022. We'll have a motion to approve. Second. It's been moved by Board Member Avila, seconded by Vice Chair Guzman. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Tab 2, new business, car number 3592, Banyan LLC Development Agreement. Mr. Pearl?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. This is a resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency Board of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving an agreement and lease with Banyan LLC, approving the eventual sale of the property of Banyan LLC, and providing for implementation of the lease and the purchase agreement.
Thank you. Ms. Driver?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. Couple of things. Mr. Michael, the owner of Banyan, is stuck in traffic, so he's about 20 minutes out, but he's calling in because I told him we would be finished by the time he got here. But he's calling in now, so he should be on shortly. And then the other thing is that with this item, before I introduce it to you all, just a note that the correct name is Banyan Group LLC, and the documents, the agreement and everything will be updated with that information upon approval by this board.
Yeah, it's not Banyan Group 2. I saw that typed into one of the agreements.
It's Banyan Group, LLC.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Good, thank you.
So with that said, we are delighted to bring before you all tonight the Homestead Flats. And Yaniel, would you pull up? So I don't have a presentation, but I just had some pictures for everyone's sake, just to remember how this project looked. The last time we brought this project before you all, you had some specific items that you wanted us to address and make sure were included in the agreement. This is a 40-unit, 5-story building that will be located on the Flagler lot that is between Maury and Chrome Avenue. It's a little sliver of a lot right across from the Landmark Hotel, and we're really excited about this project. If you just go to this is what the interior of one of the lofts will look like. All of these are loft-style apartments, and that fit into with traditional kind of downtown living. And then it also includes a rooftop amenities, which will have a pool, a very shallow pool, they said, but it's a nice little pool and a green space and nice little outdoor spot on top of the roof. Parking for the building will be underneath. So the structure will be on top, four stories up, and then the bottom floor will be parking. And to address some of the issues and concerns that you were brought up, that you had wanted to make sure that we included in our agreement, we wanted to make sure that everything that we had here and that we presented to you all maintained the integrity of the project, and then also provided as much protection for the CRA as possible. So the first thing is that we are going to enter into a ground lease with Banyan, and then upon completion, upon CO rather, then we will transfer the project over to Banyan, but not until they receive CO, so we will maintain control of the land. We also put safeguards in that if Banyan transfers the property to a third party, other than the entity providing the first mortgage on the property, within 5 years of us transferring the property to them, then the CRA will receive 25% of the profit from the developer from that sale. This deal requires some zoning changes, comp plan changes, so several text amendments. And Banyan will be responsible for the cost and fees associated with the applications for those services. We also included in the agreement that if the project development timelines are not met, then we can take back the property, or Banyan also has the option to purchase an extension. If for some reason they are delayed, things happen, but they can purchase, or the agreement can be terminated. Lastly, not lastly, the next item that we included was this particular project will have its own district. So the changes that will be made to the text amendments will be specific to this property and this property alone. It will be the Flagler Multifamily Residential District, and this will allow for the residential development at the 40 units for this site, which is just under an acre. The last thing I want to point out is the potential value of this project to the CRA, to the City of Homestead, and to downtown. To the CRA in particular, Banyan estimates that after construction, the project will be valued at $13 million. Based upon that number, and it would come out to $325,000 per unit, we estimate that within 5 years, the CRA will have made over $600,000 in tax revenue from this project, and then at the end of 10 years, the CRA would have received $1.3 million in tax revenue. In addition to that, the downtown will definitely benefit from this project. When we talk with potential investors, whether it's restaurant, retail, or any other investors, particularly the service industries, the first thing they ask is, do you have residential down here in downtown? And of course, our answer right now is no, but coming. And they want to make sure that they have the traffic, the foot traffic, and the folk living in the area to be able to support their services. So this is going to be a great way to attract new businesses to the area. We think some of the challenges or the reservations some have had with bringing new business into the downtown, this will be a good stepping stone into moving that forward. It will also create a full-time property management job. It will stimulate additional commercial and residential development. Once we get the first one in, we believe that others will come. And this project is a little tricky because, as you all know, the lot size is odd. It's contaminated with arsenic, and it is a first for our downtown residential development. So Banyan has agreed to take this on. We've been in this process with them for a number of years, and they're still here. They believed in our downtown before Homestead Station even was under construction. So they are serious. They want to be long-time partners and investors in the city. And they have been working in development since the early 80s. They own, manage, operate all of their properties, and that is their intent with this property as well. They don't intend on selling it. They want to stick with their model. All of their properties that they have invested in, whether it was purchased or built, they still own and operate, with the exception of one that they sold a couple of years ago, I think. But they have been pretty consistent with their model of building and managing their property. So we've done our best to make an ironclad agreement that is going to be in the best interest of the city and also, good, positive for the developer. And we would like for you all to consider our recommendation for you to approve this development agreement so that Banyan can move forward and break ground with beginning to bring our very first residential development to downtown Homestead.
Thank you, Ms. Driver, and I will ask the board for any initial questions or comments they may have. Mr. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Driver, I want to thank you and your team. I want to thank staff for bringing this item forward. It is the type of development that I have been waiting to see in the downtown area. I love the way it looks. I think it goes nicely with the new student center that Miami-Dade College is building right behind us. I think it's a great addition to our city, and this is the type of development that I'd like to continue to see throughout, our downtown and into the southwest area. I do have a few questions. What first jumped out at me was the $10, the $10 lease and the $10 sale. Is that due to the mitigation that they are going to incur on that property?
That's due to the size of the lot and not other, we haven't had any other investors that were willing to take it on and build something nice there. That's due to the fact that it is contaminated. That's also due to the fact that the developer is taking a big gamble being the first one to put residential in downtown.
Okay, great. I also noticed that in the mitigation of that brownfield, there's an escrow deposit of $230,000, but in the Langfield, the consultant estimate,
Langen,
it had somewhere around $500,000. I didn't quite understand the difference between the two numbers.
Yeah, the 500,000, so of that 500,000, about 230,000 of that are costs, well, maybe a little bit less than that, are costs that the developer would incur anyway. So we backed that out and said, you're gonna do this anyway, if like removing the infield. That's part of construction. So they should cover that and be responsible for that. So that's where that difference is.
Okay, so it will be 500,000?
It'll be 500,000. That's the estimate, that it'll be about 500,000. So if it's 500,000, the 230,000 is escrow that they can draw down from in order to clean the land up. The rest of that 270,000 is what would be regular development costs that they would incur anyhow.
Okay, now I understand. Also, I had a question about the 50-year ground lease. When we take into consideration the amount of time after they get a CO, it says 18 months. So I think 50 years is a pretty long time, and it's kind of exaggerated. I didn't quite understand the logic behind 50 years.
It's exaggerated. So they'll be finished in 18, well, not 18 months, probably maybe 3 years from the time that we make this approval and they clean it up. Their construction time is 18 months. At that point, they'll get CO, and then we'll turn the property over to them. It was legal's advice to put the 50-year lease in there.
The reason is pretty straightforward. They have to finance their construction. And because we're maintaining control of the property and not deeding it over, they have to have an interest in the property that the lender feels comfortable with, that they could step in. And so, having gone back to their lender, this was the duration of the lease that they are comfortable with, but the agreement calls for the transfer upon completion. But it was to facilitate their construction financing.
Thank you, Matt. I also noticed on page 2 of 56, it says a review period, which is what I would consider a due diligence period, but it didn't specify on that particular page. Should I consider what's on the development milestone and construction timeline to be the same as the review period?
I'm sorry, the review period is actually defined on page 7 in the definitions as a 30-day window.
On page 7.
Yes, it's within the definition section.
Within the definition section. Page 7, Article 3, rent, late payments.
Rent, and right below rent, and it's paragraph KK says review period, and it provides a definition. No?
Page 7 of 56.
Page 7 of 56.
Article
Right
3.
above Article 3.
Okay.
There's unavoidable delay, and then right above unavoidable delay is the review period as defined?
So the review period is 30 days after effective date?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's a pretty quick review period. I don't really see that happening so quick, but if it's in there. When it comes to a 50-year lease at $10, I mean, I don't see, if they don't meet certain requirements, the definitions on, what would happen don't seem to hurt them very bad.
They begin paying rent if the property isn't transferred by the closing date at a rate of $5,000 a month. And then
After
and then we would, upon completion, we would transfer within 30 days.
Okay. And they will purchase 30 days after CO.
CO.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
I rest there.
Thank you. And just a little note, remember, they've been looking at this for over 2.5 years. They've been reviewing at least 2.5 years and had a proposal before us 2.5 years ago, so they know the property. Next up, Board Member Oliver.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As much as I don't want to give property away for free, I'm excited about this project, and I am looking forward to its completion in an efficient and quick manner. And I'm glad to see that it's finally before us, because as we just said, it's been rotating around our desks for about 2.5 years. And it's got a rooftop.
Yep.
Right? So that it won't be the only rooftop in downtown for too long, hopefully. So this has my full support. I'm okay with the terms of the agreement, it being the first, and them coming along as a partner, and the irregularities of this particular property and the mitigation that's required, all those factors and more. But thank you to our CRA director for keeping them entertained and interested all this while, so thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from the board?
I've got one.
Vice Chair.
I noticed there's a typo on the purchase agreement under additional terms. Number 2 has, it should say taxes, but it says the word takes. Purchase agreement, additional terms? Under. There's like a.
Like the filled-in term, yeah.
filled in.
Got it.
Well, they've got to change the name of the parties anyway to where applicable. Okay, and I don't remember seeing it in the packet, Ms. Driver. I know we did 2.5 years ago. I believe we did 2.5 years ago. Was there an appraisal on the property based on this type of use?
Yes, it appraised at $405,000.
Is that currently or two and a half years ago?
2.5 years ago, and that did not take into consideration the contamination.
Well, that was my next question. Okay. Now, let me preface my remarks by saying, and I said this to the proposer and their architect 2.5 years ago, somebody really got creative and did a really nice job of accommodating the parking that needs to be done. And while this isn't my preferred style of architecture, it's nice looking. Here is my philosophical problem. And it's not so much the, quote, giving away of the property. This is a very unique parcel. But philosophically, I fear that this level of density, for me, creates an untenable precedent for density that's going to be requested in or near our downtown. And that's going to be a majority rule. And we may have a lot of developers telling us individually that 60 plus units per acre is what's needed downtown and makes things economically viable. I don't agree with that. I believe that 63 is too dense, and let's not confuse this. This is not 63 units. This is the equivalent of 63 units per acre. And I get that we are creating a district for this singular piece of property. But I can just envision somebody coming in and accumulating or doing an assemblage of properties on Chrome or Washington or the other side of Flagler and coming in with that kind of density again. And again, my concern is that while we can control the use of this property because it is city-owned, this kind of density, I have no illusion that if somebody else comes in, and we can't tell them it can't be, either you get the density or you don't, it will engender more subsidized housing even closer to our downtown, which is not beneficial to an economic vibrancy in our downtown. And when I look at what's coming before us tonight at our next agenda for higher density and smaller units somewhere else, and I've said this to staff, to borrow a phrase from one of my predecessors, this is letting the camel get its nose under the tent, that we are opening the door for high-rise, super high-density downtown, and that is something that I cannot support, particularly, in light of what we have on other agendas tonight. I think we're going to really quickly slide down that slippery slope, and it may happen, but it will certainly not happen with my support. I cannot support this by virtue of the precedent that I fear that it's going to set for future requests. And let's face it, any number of prior councils have not been really reluctant to ever say no to developers, and I can't be the mayor that casts the vote to support the domino that starts that downhill effect. But it is a nice looking building. I wish it could be a story lower. Obviously it's going to happen because I don't think anything should be higher than this building. But any further comments from the board? Is the developer's representative on the phone yet?
Yes, he's on the line.
Let's let board member Roth weigh in, and then we'll turn it over to the developer's representative.
Thank you. I agree with the thought process and the philosophical reasoning that you have, and what we have to figure out as well is what do we want the downtown to look like? What is the density that we think is going to be appropriate? 60 plus units per acre with a building of this size with a limited parking is an extreme by no stretch of the imagination. But when you look at the makeup of the downtown and what land is available in the vicinity of the downtown, what is the comfortable number for any of us to decide on? Is it 63? I don't think that that's the appropriate number. Is it appropriate for this particular project to start everything? Maybe it is. And you mentioned the subsidized housing. I'm not sure, Matt, if we set up a district like this, can we regulate the style of housing that goes in when it comes to the marketability of the properties? Can we make it market rent type stuff, or are we subjected to it's the owner's call to what type of property they want to have on that piece of?
The owner will dictate that, but we have, and as we'll talk about later this evening, in terms of the aesthetic and the density and what you want to look like, unit sizes, those are the types of things that we have control over. And I know we had that workshop and that direction was given, and so staff went back and provided those controls. But we're not going to control who they can rent to.
Gotcha. So we have to be conscious of that part of it too. I'm excited about this because it's the first, but I'm also a little nervous about what comes in the future and what densities are we gonna, again, be comfortable with allowing in the area. Parking's a premium as it is now, even with a 1,000 space parking garage. There's a lifestyle that comes along with living in these types of units as well. We're so far away from the employment sector in the county, that most people that live in the city have their own transportation, so it's a parking issue for me as well. And if you look at some of the developments that went up in 2003, 4, 5, and 6, with the very limited parking that those developments have, especially on the east side of the city, that's something else for us to consider. But again, this one excites me because it's the first. It's on a basically useless piece of property to the city. It abuts the busway. These guys are willing to spend, 15, $20 million to make this happen. And I think it'll complement the parking garage in this location. I think it'll dwarf the City Hall at this point because it's going to be taller than City Hall. But I think we need to give this an opportunity to show that the city is serious about bringing a residential component to the downtown area to support the revitalization of the downtown area. Thank you.
Thank you. And real quick, clearly it's not just about, when it comes to revitalizing and supporting a downtown, it's not just about density and height. And I hope that Mr. Cordino and I can put something together where we can demonstrate some real life situations where it's about the architecture, it's about the parking, it's about the setbacks from the street. And again, my fear is once word gets out that we are allowing this kind of density, you may see bulldozers coming into large swaths of Chrome Avenue and Washington so I guess my point is the type of product is as important as, is part of that component of the residential density. And again, for me, this is just a philosophical fear that we are setting a precedent. I totally get, and I agree, this is a very, very unique piece of property. You said something about he's going to spend $15 to $20 million on this. Well, I hope not, because their projections show that at completion it's only going to be worth 13. So I hope that it doesn't spiral that far out of control. But thank you, Board Member Roth. Appreciate those comments. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At some point, I think we have to start thinking, if we don't do anything and we keep Homestead exactly how it is, then we're never going to see any change. I commend the East Side for all of the great developments that they have going over there. I see the East Side creating their own downtown, and it's starting to thrive over there. So a lot of capital is attracted to the East Side because demographics look better, the aesthetics look better, the roads look better. You see people walking their dogs, you see people jogging a lot more on the East Side than you do on the West Side. So if we don't start to allow on a case-by-case basis, we're never going to see the demographics change in this area, and we're never going to attract more capital. So I think this is a good first step in the right direction. And one question I did have for Ms. Driver is, I see the parking, it says one space for each unit plus required visitor spaces. Since we don't have an exact, full floor plan, where would those visitor spaces be?
There are some spots at the end of the building. So right now it would be on the north end where Maori is. So there'll be some visitor parking there, if I'm not getting my directions wrong.
So the people who are going to live, the 40 units, all of their parking is going to be underneath the building?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then remember, we have that wonderful parking garage right there nearby that guests can park at.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah, I think we have to kind of find that happy medium that we are cohesively agreeing with as a group what we think our density is, because honestly, I don't really understand what we want as density and what the fears are when it comes to density, because I think density helps grow cities. And sometimes people do want to live in an urban setting. Sometimes people are working from home. There are studies that are showing a lot of people are starting to work from home now. Going back to your question about, people trying to get up to Miami to work, a lot of stuff is happening from home. So we want to give options to people that are migrating to Homestead. And every time people migrate to the west part of Homestead, we lose them the minute they get here because there isn't an option for them to want to live on this side. So everybody goes over to the east side, which I'm very proud of the east side too, because it's still obviously our city as a whole. But I'd like to start seeing some of this nice architecture start to happen on the west side. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Fairclough Staggers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I can relate to all of your comments. I think this is a great first step for our downtown, particularly this very unique property. I think it's going to be very attractive, and I'm grateful for the developer for hanging in there with us. Interestingly enough, last week I was wondering, did they leave us? Are they coming back? And I saw it back on the agenda. So I'm grateful that they're investing in our downtown. When Councilman Roth asks, what do we want our downtown to look like? What do we want that to become? And I've been having conversations ad nauseum with staff about what we're going to do to strengthen the economic vitality of the downtown. But there has to be a happy medium. There has to be some density down there. We want the restaurants to come, and we want the residents to be walking about like on the east side. But I'm just concerned about what that will look like. I don't want those bulldozers to start coming in, Mayor. So for me, this is going to be on a case-by-case basis. Don't start popping the champagne if this passes tonight, because every application that comes before us is going to be on a case-by-case basis, because I don't want to open up the floodgates in the downtown. There has to be a balance, but to your point, Vice Chairman, we have to do something if we want our downtown to be viable. So case-by-case basis for me.
Thank you. All right, so we have the developer's rep on the phone.
Stephen, are you on the line?
I'm on the line. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thanks for joining. You're probably almost here.
I am. I'm very close, but it's hard for me to listen while I'm driving.
Okay, well, thank you for joining us. Mr. Chair, any questions for him?
Well, thank you. To the extent you've been able to hear the conversation among the board members this evening, if there are any of those comments or concerns you would like to address, or just add any information that Ms. Driver has not presented to us tonight and for the public consumption, feel free to do so. Thank you for joining us.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sorry I caught a lot of traffic on the way here. I didn't expect it, but I do apologize. And Mrs. Driver did a wonderful presentation, and and I understand. I listened to all of your concerns and comments, and I do understand tremendously the density issue. Over time, I can only tell you that in 20 years of developing in a town that I think has a similar feel a similar downtown feel. The beginning of the downtown density had to be a little bit more aggressive to attract people. We're trying to find this project as a first project in this downtown district that we believe in, and we do find it's a very odd spot. It's difficult, the size, the shape, and just building a development that has enough units that makes the economy of scale really sensible to manage. But we do understand the higher density is not something that you want over time, and a lot of towns similar, these a high street downtown district would not want over time. But in this particular instance, and maybe there might be one or two other instances as the town starts to grow, that you can use that tool to make it more attractive for a difficult site to come in, to be developed, and to infill some residential, because the residential is, to me, such an important factor to drive the local retail. And that's, you've built a wonderful, incredible, beautiful retail and entertainment building property, and just getting as the process goes forward to fill those spaces and bring people here, and I believe people will come to downtown from other areas of either Homestead or neighboring towns, but there has to be, very important to have some percentage of people that actually live and play in the same town. And you do have transportation that's being built that will help create an avenue for young professionals to be able to live in Homestead and maybe work in a more of a larger labor pool. But we have the same dilemma. We have the same risk that we have to take coming in with this first development as you're taking on us, with giving us a little more density than you want to see in the future, or maybe you need it, initially to make this particular site work, and getting the first few doors built in the downtown. But I understand all of your comments, and I appreciate them, and I definitely, I feel for the balance that you're trying to achieve. I don't know, John, I think, John, you're on the phone. You might have.
Mr. Chair, John Zerdy
I
is the
am.
architect.
Good evening. Yes, I'm on the line here too. As everybody's been aware of the time it's taken, but we looked at this as a extremely unique, proportioned site. Very, very long and narrow, and to try to get the right size to fit in the number of units as it has to work with the living units design as they superimpose themselves over a structural base that also fits so that you can park underneath and drive and flow through. It was quite a challenge, but I also appreciate all your comments. And the image and style of any building is always subjective and up, but we felt that this is an expression here on this particular site for this type of loft living, and we really hope that you continue some support there. And we've been working with Steve on numerous other projects, so we're well tuned into his parameters as well. And I hope you all support this evening.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And that triggers a question that I have that's here in my notes somewhere. Could you talk about what you mean when you say loft-style apartments, and what the bedroom mix of this project will be and the size ranges for the units?
And well, these are all two bedroom, 2-bath units, and so it gives you flexibility for all different types of potential tenants that would come in there. A loft style is that you have a little extra height in the size, because it's so compact. You get relief in the size of the units vertically, which is you don't get that feeling in the 8-foot or 8-foot ceiling, which is pretty common and typical. So with this is a little more vertical in the way that it was designed. So we think that people would enjoy the openness of it, and it's got a fairly good amount of glazing and some outdoor space as well. I think the views from this would also be really very spectacular as well. So that kind of gives you a feel for what we would call a loft. It's a little bit of an extra height in the space because of the compactness of the units.
And it's also designed to attract a certain demographic as well, and an urban feel. Having the open loft style is more a little more attractive to a younger professional demographic, and we've thought coming into this first project in the downtown district that it would be something that we can market that's different than a lot of the typical merchant buildings that are built for multifamily, especially in South Florida.
And the square footage range for these, are they all the same size, or does it vary in unit size? I understand they're all two-bedroom.
They're all
Correct.
875 square feet each, yes.
I'm sorry, we didn't catch that, the size.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's about 875 square feet for each one of the units. And they're all the same just because of the regularity to the work with the structure that has to fit within the, like I was mentioning, the parking circulation and the way that cars maneuver and park versus extending the column and structure up so that it works with the residential, the units themselves.
Very good, appreciate it. Let me ask the board members if they have any further questions for either of you two gentlemen. Board member, Vice Chair Guzman.
I don't have a question, but I have comments after you end questions.
Very good. Yes, board
I'm the
member
same.
Roth.
I have comments, that's all. No questions.
Yes, board member Avila.
Thank you. For Banyan Group, would you use a similar type of architecture and style if you were able to put the parking on surface parking? Would you put commercial or retail on the first floor? Is that a type of product or style you would use?
Depending on the location, most of the times we would use the first floor for a commercial use, a retail use. This didn't really. First of all, we don't have park. We're really restricted by parking. That really has been the restriction for the design, for the amount of units, for everything. But typically, in a downtown district, we would look to do a commercial first floor, but it just didn't work here because of the parking issue and also the location's a little not quite on the main road.
Okay, thank you. But comment-wise, I think it's just beautiful. The floor to ceiling windows, looking into our downtown and Crum Avenue, I can see how this would be very attractive. And just trying to visualize Crum Avenue and in the future, I don't see why something like this with commercial on the first floor wouldn't be a great catalyst for economic vitality and growth and helping the businesses in our downtown to thrive, not just survive, but to thrive. Thank you.
Or that density, a field day for subsidized developers. Vice Chair?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To the Banyan Group, I had a question as I continue my education in trying to understand what attracts developers, because we want to understand, none of us up here are developers, but I think it's important for us to understand what it takes to attract a developer to a specific area in terms of density and height when it comes to having structured parking. So for example, let's say you have a half acre or an acre property. What is an adequate amount of density that makes the numbers attractive to a developer?
Well, first, anything really under 100 units is difficult from a management perspective, just because of the economy of scale. Rent, it's also a function of what market rate rents are, and we don't really have we don't have a good benchmark because there hasn't been really any downtown residential built. So, we have to create some sort of hybrid. We hope, we hope we're off, and possibly we can attract a little higher market rate rent for the downtown, or the next project will, because that really drives the feasibility of the site quite a bit, and having a set of comps that would give a typical developer and a lender some assurance that we believe we can at least attract this kind of revenue once we build the building. This has been a little bit of a challenge because we really don't know. We're piecing together a rate that we believe we could achieve, and we're also designing a building that we think is attractive enough and unique enough in this downtown to attract people to come here and pay a market rate rent that is close to what Homestead, a new Homestead multifamily development would get. I think over time, and again, as far as the density, in my experience, and I have, and so does John, has 20 years plus experience with the town of Delray Beach, which we can use as an example. It's not the only place, but we happen to think that downtown Homestead has a very similar feel and attraction, and we think will be a future growth pattern for downtown, because the east side of Homestead is pretty, it's beautiful, but the east side there's no downtown district like this. This is a wonderful high street downtown walkable district that I think over time will really attract businesses, and people will want to, as businesses come here, as restaurants come here, as entertainment comes here, people want to live near that, walkable to that entertainment district, and that's what we're looking. That's what we're betting on over time, and that's what we think Homestead. We believe that it needs a little bit. There has to be. When you say other developers will see that we're coming in here and they're going to maybe make some asks for more density or some relief, and maybe on a case by case basis you might think it's beneficial from time to time, but you always have that choice. When we saw in the beginning, 15, 20 years ago, when Delray had its first major residential building, which was 2 stories higher than the allowable height, and it was about 98 units per acre, when the current zoning hasn't changed and was the same then, was 30 units per acre. And it was a very controversial thing, but what it did do, it did jumpstart other developers to come into the market, and every time a new development came in, it was the conditional use that was granted was lower and lower and lower. And today, it would be virtually impossible to get any more than 30 units per acre because they're at a point where they don't need to. But it was a tremendous way of jump-starting the residential development in the downtown district, and that also really seeded the retail and the restaurant growth, because density was coming to the market as well as people coming to the downtown. So, I understand with a lot of sensitivity, because we've gone through it for many years, the density issue and the sensitivity to height and density, and you don't want to have high buildings in this downtown, because you have a beautiful downtown that's walkable and mostly one-story buildings, and a lot of them historic in a lot of ways. So you don't want to, of course, you don't want to chop that up, but maybe from time to time, especially on the ends of the downtown, it may be something that helps jumpstart the process of making this a growing downtown.
Thank you. That was a very, very good answer. And I just wanted to follow up saying that as the residents continue to tell us what they want, and as this council continues to explore how we'd like to see this area develop, I think it's imperative that we try to understand what attracts developers, because I think it's a key component of what we should know, because we could have a vision and no developer will come because our vision is far out of line with what attracts developers. So I appreciate your answer, and looking forward to having you start your construction. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair.
Thank you.
Board Member Roth.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so he touched on a lot of different things, and one of the things that I was going to bring up was for this board to figure out is how much of Chrome Avenue and the historic portion of Chrome from, let's say, Campbell to Lucy, do we want to preserve in this process? And this may be a conversation for another time, that these workshops we've been having. Once you put up this building in that location, it almost sets a benchmark for what somebody's looking for in the area. And I don't know necessarily that this building is what I would like all of downtown Homestead to look like. Or maybe not even put any of this style of building on Chrome Avenue at all, and come up with some kind of a preservation project to brighten and lighten Chrome Avenue and preserve his historic errors. But that's for another conversation. I think I'm ready to vote to move this one forward and see where we end up in the future. But I do think we need to think about, in these other workshops we've been having, once you put this building there, you've kind of set a precedent, I think. And, density we can debate and talk about as much as we want. And I think it's going to be up to the citizens as well to tell us, what do they want this downtown to look like? How dense do they want it to be? And what kind of amenities do you think that by putting in this type of density will attract to the area? What types of restaurants? If you travel outside the city and you go into other communities, there's a lot of mom and pop type restaurants and pubs and really niche type things that you can explore and experience and try. And aside from, and not to take anything away from the Mexican restaurants and the ones that we have here today, we have mainly chain restaurants on the east side, and there's no originality to any of that stuff. So when I think about my role in helping to put together a thought process of what the downtown area should be, and it's that thriving, bustling mom and pop, pub to restaurant to shop to restaurant to shop, that creates this energy in an area. And we don't have that here yet, but we are on the threshold of trying to bring life into the city and into the downtown area. And I just think that we need to talk more about that part. I have visions as well, but I'm not going to weather on it anymore. But we'll have another to talk. We'll have a workshop about that stuff, because there's plenty of things to talk about and think about. But as far as this goes, this is what we're faced with today, and I'm going to have to support this one tonight.
Thank you, Board Member. Well said. Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chair, I wanted to ask our city manager, I do know that as we continue to explore this whole thing of what we want to see, I think if we get better visualization technology, if we start to see things in 3D, if we start to have mapping data, if we start to have simulation, which the technology's out there. I know there are programs out there, one specifically called Gridix. Gridix, it's a government solution that Coral Gables, Miami Beach, North Miami, what they do is they put your current code in this 3D mapping so that you can visually see exactly what it would look like in the future, instead of just having these still maps when we're doing our workshops. It's kind of hard. It's kind of hard in today's day and age, and I think that we should explore having those types of technologies, because it'll make it a lot easier for us. So is that something we could look into, bring back, and see? Because I'd like to have that before our next workshop.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Yeah, I'll definitely follow up with IT and Development Services to see what it's going to take to go ahead and get that software. Now, in terms of timeline, it depends, how long it takes to deploy this, to input the existing information that we have, our code and things like that. But we'll definitely get the information and get that information to you all.
The companies do it. You just tell them Unicode Homestead, they get the whole thing, and they have it up and running for you very, very quickly.
Danielle, did you hear that? All right. IT's on it.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, I think that'll help. Thank you, Mayor.
Very good, thank you. Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Board Member Avila.
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Chair. Board Member Roth, here's your generational split. Anything goes versus let's be careful. Is what it is. All right. Anything further from, and the one who was born the year I graduated from high school is laughing down here. But,
Are we millennials? Are we millennials?
I don't know what you are. Okay. No further comments. Let's have a roll call vote, Madam Clerk.
Board Member Fletcher? Board Member Fairclough Staggers? Board Member Roth?
Yes.
Board Member Avila? Board Member Bailey?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Guzman?
Yes.
Chairman Lossner?
No.
Motion pass.
All right, now, before we get too excited about the shovels being turned out there, remember, if you look at this timeline, it could be 3 years before they have a ribbon cutting ceremony in their first tenant. So if you read the timelines and impose current timeframes, it could literally be 2.5 to 3 years. So let's all keep that in perspective. Is there anything further for the CRA?
No, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion to adjourn.
Move it. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, we will reconvene the Committee of the Whole meeting in 5 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening once again, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, and it is 7:04 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers. Councilman Roth. Councilwoman Avila. Councilwoman Bailey.
Here.
Vice Mayor Guzman. Mayor Losner.
Here. All right. Mr. Manager, are there any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
Thank you, Mayor. No, there are none.
All right, we have before us on tab 1 the approval of the July 20th, 2022 Committee of the Whole meeting. Do we have a motion to approve those minutes? Moved by Councilman Roth, seconded by the Vice Mayor. All in favor? All right, next item, motion to place car number 3607 on the council agenda, the Southern Homestead Soccer Academy, Inc. agreement. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Southern Homestead Soccer Academy, Inc. is a Florida non-for-profit organization offering youth soccer programming in Homestead for children ages 5 to 18 for the past 10 years. The program consists of travel soccer play, tournament play, and preparation for collegiate play. They also offer 30 scholarships each year for low-income families out of 150 children in their program. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council authorize the City Manager to execute the attached agreement between the City of Homestead and Southern Homestead Soccer Academy, Inc. for the use of soccer fields at Harris Field Park and the Homestead Sports Complex, and I believe they are here, Mayor.
Is a representative from Southern Homestead here? Come on down to the podium and give us your name and address for the record, and any further information you think we need to hear tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for enduring our last meeting.
Good evening, members. Basically, we want to give you thanks for the opportunity you gave us last time we came here in the meeting. They gave us a Harris Field complex, and we're very happy with it. We're here this night because we have a monthly lease that every month, basically, we need to renew the lease, and we're renting. And we would like to have a year-long contract, right? And that's why we're here. We've been competing. We've been growing as well. We started with 150. Now we're over 180 kids. And basically this year, we also have a soccer team, our U16, going to Spain right now in August because they became champions last year of an international soccer cup hosted here. So that's why we're here. We want to request a one-year contract from you. We want your approval. We want your support, and we want your help.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here, and I think I can say that if you weren't living up to your end of the bargain and weren't a credible and legitimate organization, our city manager and his parks director would not have this on the agenda or be recommending approval. There's so much going on in the Parks and Recs world, and as we do our master plan, I know we're going to have many more discussions, so appreciate you being part of the youth athletic picture in Homestead.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate what you guys are doing and what you have been doing throughout the years, and a very, very good reputation. Soccer is really on the rise, not only here, but all throughout the country, and I hope that it continues to rise. I did want to ask, I noticed in the use of facilities, you guys would use the Harris Field Stadium, from sunrise to sunset, and you will also use the another stadium, right? You would be using both?
No, we're using the stadium, and we're in complex as well. We have for the weekend games at this moment.
So at this moment, or what you're proposing is to continue to utilize both fields?
Sorry, Vice Mayor, I didn't hear the question when you said it.
What I'm reading in the packet is Harris Field Stadium. Is that the big stadium where the Homestead Broncos play?
Yes.
It's the high school Broncos. Okay. Are they going to continue to use the other field over by?
I believe so, as well.
So, do you typically provide staff a schedule of when you're going to be utilizing, or does it fluctuate based
No.
on weather and other factors?
No, we have a schedule from Monday through Thursday, basically starting from 5 up to 9 o'clock with
Okay.
different hours for the kids.
Okay, great. And the majority of the kids are from Homestead, but some of them that are not from Homestead pay a $10 fee. Is that the way it works?
What you mean a $10 fee?
For the
Vice Mayor.
non-residents of Homestead?
Sir, Alex is gonna step in and answer.
All right, guys.
Hey, Alex.
So, how you doing? So the reason we found a location for them to practice, which is Harris Field, it's not large enough for them to play games. So they play their games over at the sports complex. They do not pay the $10 non-resident fee yet because they're not contracted yet. So they're just renting as a normal renter. But if accepted tonight, then they will be paying a $10 non-resident fee as all the other leagues do.
Okay. You understand how that
Yes.
works? So
It's just a one-time fee, not a per game, correct?
It is. I'm sorry. It is at the end of each season. So he gives me the rosters at the end of the season. We charge them for field lighting, field marking, and then non-resident fees. So.
Got it. So the games would not be at Harris Field Stadium. That would be practice. The games would be at the sports complex.
Yes, that's what we have now, basically.
Okay, and those, do you typically practice during the week, on the weekends?
It's all in the week, Monday through Thursday.
Okay. No further questions, Your Honor. No,
Councilwoman Avila.
Thank you. So now you'll be able to have your signage and advertising year-round, right? The banners up and everything? Okay, I'm so happy to see that you have a contract before us today. You have been persistent. You have not given up. You have challenged the rules, and you are prevailing because you have support from so many of us up here. All of us are supporting you. So thank you for what you're doing for our community and for the kids and bringing awesome talent and lifting them up to more opportunities. I do have a question with regards to the Steelers. Don't they use that field for football?
Correct. So the Steelers and high school football have preference. He's aware. We've spoken about this before. So if a high school football game does come into effect, he'll alter his practices around those games. But the Steelers are usually Fridays. He doesn't practice Fridays, and high school football depends on when it is. It's usually from 3:30 to 5 for JV, and then 7 to 9. So whenever football season starts around school year till the end of the year, which is November-ish, they'll work around it.
Thank you so much. You're awesome.
Thank
You're doing a great job juggling everybody. I'm glad to hear nobody's being displaced and that everybody's playing in the sandbox nicely together. So thank you very much. Congrats.
Thank you. Anything further? Councilwoman Fairclough-Saggers.
Thank you, Mayor. I was so excited when I saw this on this agenda because you've been coming before us as long as I've been up here. And the work that you do with the young people in this community, you definitely add value to our community. And I'm so grateful and thankful for your steadfastness and your perseverance and not giving up. And that is why we're here tonight. You have a potential contract that I'm sure most of us will support. Continue to do the great work in our community and keep providing those enriched opportunities for all the young men and girls. Do you have girls? You have girls.
Yes, we're
girls.
This year, a girls team.
Absolutely, in your club. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve? We have a second. All right, we have a motion and a second to approve. Is there any further discussion on this matter? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. The next item is tab 3, motion to place car number 3608 on the council agenda, Illumide Volleyball LLC agreement. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Lumade Volleyball LLC is a Florida limited liability company offering youth and adult volleyball programs. The programs consist of skills improvement, travel league play, and tournament play. Lumade Volleyball began using the gymnasium in Harrisfield with 50 children, and they now have over 150 children registered. All of their coaches are trained, paid staff of Lumade, and they offer scholarship and payment assistance for low-income families. Staff recommends that mayor and council authorize the city manager to execute the attached agreement between the City of Homestead and Luma Day Volleyball LLC for the use of the gymnasium at Harris Field Park, and I believe they are here as well.
They are, and I know, Luann, you have an aversion to public speaking, but just come up and pretend you're talking just to me like we were doing earlier. Please share with the public and the council just the exponential expansion of the interest and how you're involved in the schools now. Just give us a feel for what's going on out there.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys so much for everything you've done for volleyball in Homestead. It's going amazing. Councilwoman Bailey, I don't know if you remember, you had asked me if in a couple years, we could double my numbers. And then in a couple years, could we get even over 200? In less than 6 months, we doubled. In 10 months, we are now over 200. So we have even increased from that. We are now, we just had our travel team tryouts. In our summer program alone, we had over 180 players. And we just had our travel team tryouts, and we are now at 12 teams. We went from 2 to 6, and now we are at 12. And still getting calls, and we have callbacks this week. And so it is going amazing. Thank you guys for your support. We now have trained coaches in Homestead schools. And that's really exciting to me because, you know, I'm truly about growing this in Homestead, and our name is getting out. We are going places, and we are really excited. I am hoping to be able to be a host site. I have already put in with the league that will, some of our travel teams will be joining. And so we will be a host site as well for those tournaments. And so it's going really well. Thank you guys so much. And we're excited to get those courts going and, you know, and make those adjustments in the gym as well to fit the growth. So thank you.
Thank you. Please let us know when you do become that host site. And to mix sports metaphors, that's the home run we've been looking for, to host athletic tournaments where regionally people come to Homestead and leave and remember and spread the good word about the system that we are going to have here in the coming
Absolutely.
years. So thank you. All right.
Question.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you, what does the city need if we were to become that host site next year? That would be at the new sports complex.
You're talking about the gym right now, correct?
Currently, I would be the gym. I didn't know
Now,
when that other facility would be available. If that is available, I don't see a problem bringing anybody down.
When you travel to other places, are their facilities like ours or in much better condition?
Honestly, better condition.
Don't go there.
No, but just to let everybody know what we have to do in case we do get there, because she's moving at a very fast pace. And when we're there, I don't want us not to be ready.
That is programmed in. I think if you look closely at the Homestead Sports Complex conceptual plan, there's a home for Homestead girls volleyball.
Okay. Thank you so much for what you do.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
That's all, Mr. Mayor.
Form of a motion?
Motion to approve.
Moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilwoman Avila. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resounding aye. Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Keep it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations. That is amazing news. Super proud of you guys.
All right, very good. Okay, next item is tab 5, the motion to place car number 3598 on the council agenda, the Homestead Station rooftop restrooms. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. At the January 19th, 2022 council meeting, Mayor and City Council directed staff to explore the feasibility and cost of adding restrooms to the Homestead Station Transit Center as an amenity for transit patrons. The design costs for restrooms, including preparation of construction documents, permitting, bidding, and construction administration, is $91,200. The cost of construction is estimated to be $617,372, assuming cost escalations associated with the project beginning in 2023. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council consider the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with Bormillo Ajamil Partners, Inc. pursuant to RFQ 2015-02 Professional Architectural and Engineering Services for professional engineering and related services for the restroom addition to the city's Homestead Station Transit Center for a total not to exceed $91,200.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Vice Mayor, you brought this to the table.
Yes, thank you, and I'm so glad you guys have finally brought this to us. And let me start off by saying that rooftop space dominate global event space. So it is a trend that is making its way and could potentially make its way to Homestead if we, approve this tonight. I think that it is needed. I was initially perplexed when I saw the numbers, and I said, "Wow, these things are pretty up there." But thinking long term, this is a one-time investment of capital, which we could potentially find some help through grants and also through the half-penny sales tax that could help us get there. And I think it's going to help revitalize. It's going to bring so much attention to that downtown, which is kind of depressed now, and it's needed. And there are so many creative ways that we could utilize that space to reignite, to ignite the fire that this city desperately needs, especially with approving the CRA's new project that we just talked about earlier today. I think having rooftop event at our Homestead Station could be a tremendous asset for this city. So I'm hoping city manager can tell us a little bit about potential funding that we could have to help put us at ease when it comes to thinking about the numbers that are before us.
Well, since it's going to assist with the transit patrons, we can use the PTP, I'm sorry, you can't hear me? The PTP funds that the city currently has to go ahead and fund this. As you know, every year we get reallocated the funding, and so that would be the basis of paying for these restrooms.
Okay, and Zach, let's say this gets approved tonight, and let's say the bathrooms get established. Could you remind us how it would work with the organization over at I3 or Axiom?
Yes, so as far as the construction process, we would...
Not the construction process, management, more if it's already built.
Operation and management.
Correct. Okay, so this would be kind of an addition to what they're already managing. Right now they're managing the retail and the parking facilities, so they would be in addition. We would make sure that they're okay with managing an event space, assuming that they are. This would just become an additional rental that they would be administering for us. There would likely need to be, an additional, memorandum between us memorializing if there was going to be some sort of revenue share specifically related to these rentals, or if I3 were to say, listen, we think it's great that you guys want to, do this event space, but we don't want to have the headache, we would end up going out for, another entity to manage.
But from my understanding, based on your previous comments, they're pretty excited about having this event space as well.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna rest there. I'm very excited, and I think, the grants and the PPP money that they can give us can help bring this to fruition if we can approve this tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Before I forget the questions, let me ask Manager and Zach, whoever can answer. You bring up a good point, but isn't the agreement with the operator of the parking facility something that we should do before we commit to $90,000+ to even have drawings done? Shouldn't we have that locked down first?
Yeah, Mayor, that's an excellent point. We could definitely we get council's approval, but before we issue a purchase order or anything of that nature, we'll reach out to I3 and the parking lot operator to ensure that there's no issues moving forward with the development of the bathrooms.
Yeah, because I could even foresee the difficulty that the rates that could be charged for events may inhibit events, and I think we would need to have somewhat of a handle on that first, you know. We sometimes lose sight of the fact that we don't really control the parking garage. It's not like it is a city facility. Although, you know, I think there's the common perception that it is. You know, for something like this, we have to recall that it's not. So I would like, before we go spend any more money on this, I'd like to see us get, you know, at least some memorandum of understanding, a letter agreement, something in place, locked down, or if you can't, bring that back to us, and you know, if we're going to have to go out for other, somebody's got to clean them, somebody's got to secure them every day once they are there, and that does not happen for free. My second question is, if you could give us an example of what we currently utilize the PTP funds for. Do we have excess? Would we be ending a program? Would we be foregoing something that's funded now? Generally educate us, you know, as briefly as you can on that angle of that funding source.
So for the PTP funds, that's used for a lot of different things. We use them for roadways, for the trolley program, for paying the revenue bond on Homestead Station, for sidewalk repairs, kind of really almost anything that's related to transit and transportation. The funding for the design is already available within the budget, within the professional services that we have allocated. The potential funding for the restrooms would be an appropriation of fund balance that we have been building up over the years. So there's not a project that we would be shelving for this, but you know, it's money that you wouldn't be spending on, you know, a sidewalk or a street if one of those needs were to come up.
So while we've needed intersection improvements on the city streets, you've been sandbagging that money that we're now going to build bathrooms with. That's a rhetorical question. You know about those. Okay, so just in general terms, how much of that what is the amount of the PTP that we have received over the last few years, at least on an annual basis?
We can get that number to you. Don't have it at my fingertips.
Well, let's say for sake of argument, we're talking about spending. If the proposal is for 6 something, we all know good and well it's going to be closer to 8. So, you know, I mean, is it half? Is it 3/4? Is it a quarter of our annual draw?
To Zach's point, unfortunately Julio's not here, but I could definitely get that information and email it to all of you first thing in the morning, so at least you have an idea. Also, this project may go multi-year, so it wouldn't impact the full fund 1 year. It might take a little bit, you know, depending on how long the construction takes and when it occurs. So it may split it up over multi-years, but we'll get you that information so you're up to date on it.
Appreciate that. Councilman Roth.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, normally when we contemplate something like this, there's more details to this. And at this point, I don't know how many bathrooms are going to be built. I don't know where they're going to be placed in the parking garage. I don't know who's going to be using them and what facilities are going to be available to those who want to use food trucks, what kind of programs are going to be there, how many spaces does it take up. There's a lot of questions, and the Vice Mayor had brought up all the cool technical three-dimensional drawings, and I don't see anything in here that even depicts anything that we're even thinking about building in there. So I think there's a few unanswered questions at this point.
So Councilman, to your point, we're coming here just to get your approval if you guys want us to move forward. In terms of your question, remember, this won't get approved actually till the council meeting, so we can actually go ahead and provide that information to all of council prior to the council meeting. So when it comes on consent, if there's any issue at that point, you all could pull it off. If not, you guys can vote it through. So we'll get you all that information as well.
So you'll be able to provide conceptual drawings
Part-
the PTP funding and what's available there, how long it's going to take to pay for this, what other services are going to be needed up there, if we're going to have restaurants up there now, what's that going to take? Do we have the ability to put food trucks up there? Last time I heard we didn't because of the height. So I don't know what catering positions are going to be, or if it's just going to be a bar. I don't really know that much about what putting bathrooms up there is going to, add to the city. This is $750,000 that we're asking to invest in a parking garage on a roof. So I don't have enough information or details. If you're telling me in 2 to 3 weeks you can get us that information, then I'll go forward with it and see what it looks like then. But I just, I'm excited about the idea, but I don't have enough details to say, yes or no to this. If we get a second chance at it, then we get a second chance at it. So I'll leave it for that for now, and you've heard what my concerns were. Drawings, is it the east side, the west side of the parking lot? How many people are going to go up there? I have no idea what you guys are even talking about planning, except for putting bathrooms up there. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. And Councilman Roth, to your point, there are numerous examples that I had put in the January packet, but given that things don't move as fast as we'd like them, we're here in August now talking about something that we've been wanting to do. But I do want to say that if you go to any rooftop that has events, the reason we couldn't do anything to begin with was because we were told there weren't any bathrooms, right? Then I said, okay, let's put porta potties in there. And staff said, well, we can't put porta potties because they don't fit through the garage. I said, let's lay them down. They said, we can't lay them down because the liquid will fall out. I said, let's crane them up there. We said, we can't do that because it's a liability issue. So we are tired of hearing no in this city, tired. So at some point, we have to start saying, hey, let's find a way. Let's find a way to do this because this is a trend. And if you go to any rooftop event, you're going to see that these event programmers, they bring everything they need. They bring up lighting, they bring bars, they bring chairs, they bring cabanas, they bring it all. And if we want to attract an Art Basel, if we want to attract, some of these really, really cool events that are happening, we want to attract these fashion shows. I don't know how a fashion show might be a bikini show because it's kind of hot, but I just want to say that there are lots of things that we can do, and it is a growing trend. I mean, you could look it up anywhere. It's going to say rooftops are going to pack the house, right? And if we want to start attracting any type of attraction down here, we got to stop having people just think it's a racetrack. We got to start having amenities where we can attract really, really cool events so that we can also be on the map. And it doesn't just have to be, Coral Gables, Miami Beach. It doesn't have to be. I'm passionate about this because I'm tired of hearing no. We hear no way too often, and at some point it gets extremely aggravating to hear no when you want to see your city prosper. So I'm just hoping we can get behind this, and if we give them direction to move forward with this today, then they bring us all of the other items that we're asking for. But honestly, just having the space up there it's all that's needed, and the event programmers will come and make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I may.
Sure, okay. Yes, Councilwoman
Thank you.
Bailey.
Thank you, Mayor.
Sure, thank you.
I had one idea when I was reading through this. Are we planning on splitting some type of percentage with them? Or are they only going to be are they going to collect on all of the events that they have up there?
So that would be captured in the terms of the MOU that we've received direction to go out and negotiate. That may be covered under the existing revenue split under the agreement, or we may carve out something else for the events. But short answer,
Okay,
yes, we
I
would
just
like to
thought
get
that
money.
would be an interesting way. for us to be able to recapture some of it. I also think it's a really unique thing. If you're ever up there when the sun is setting, it's gorgeous. I've seen art galleries that's set up going up through the floors. Obviously, it's a really cool, unique opportunity for a car show. So I love the idea. You know, Kicks came to us last year trying to do something for their seniors and weren't able to. So I would love to see it happen, but I would obviously also love to see how we could get some percentage of it back. So just something to consider in adding into the terms. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And now Councilwoman Avila.
Thank you. It was just yesterday when I was having my Girl Scout planning meeting for my troop. We were talking about some activities that the cadets, the older girls in our troop, would be able to do, and I forget the name of it, so excuse me, maybe Councilwoman Fairclough knows. It's like a club that they look at the stars, a telescope club. Astronomy. Thank you, Mayor. So I can envision the rooftop being so inviting to those kinds of organizations to come out and look at the stars, you know? See the asteroid going, well, maybe not the asteroid, but the comet going by. So this is you got to look beyond the numbers that are on the paper. There's a way to recoup it. My support for this was already assuming we were going to make some money on the deal. So I hope that that's not off the table anywhere. But it would have been nice to have a refresher of those documents from January in the tab so that we can, you know, all have been, you know, updated on the vision. But my support for this still stands, and I'd like to see it move forward. And I feel your pain, Vice Mayor, because I think it was over a year ago, I had an organization, a car club that wanted to do a meetup. They were told no. They just want to have a couple of cars. They were actually already starting to have a meetup, and they were told they had to leave because it wasn't zoned or the code didn't allow it. It's a public parking garage, and their cars parking on the top floor, and they weren't allowed to meet, I guess because there weren't the bathrooms. Well, for $600,000, I guess we'll have the bathrooms, but if there's a better way to catch this mouse, then tell us. But if this is the only option, then I will support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fairclough-Staggers.
Thank you. This is something I definitely support. Prior to Vice Mayor Guzman bringing this forward, I had mentioned this to staff because a former elected official mentioned it to me, saying we have to activate that space. You can have a countdown in downtown on the rooftop for New Year's Eve and really create a synergy in your downtown district. And I was advised that there are no restrooms up there. So I'm happy that you are bringing this ball forward or carrying it forward because this is definitely trending. These experiences on rooftops in Doral and in Coral Gables is definitely trending, and I would love for this to manifest here in the city of Homestead. We will have another bite at the apple, Councilman Roth, because I understand the devil is in the details, but we can move this forward, and then the specifics on how this would definitely play out can be provided to us in addition to the examples that you provided to us in January. So there's another bite at the apple, and I support this tonight.
Okay. This is clearly an idea with a lot of merit. Absolutely. And I agree with your vision and your thoughts for what it will ultimately do. But I have to ask if we need to go from the street level up rather than from the rooftops down. For me, this kind of amenity is not just the icing on the cake. It would be the cherry on top of the icing on the cake. And we've got a lot of work to do with the layers, starting at the street. And while this is clearly a meritorious idea, I have to question whether or not there are better ways over the next year or so to spend those dollars that Zach's been hiding from us for some other down. You know me by now. Don't shake your head like I'm really going. Okay. So are there other things and again, you know, Mr. Brea's not here, and I'd like to know what other ideas were in the pipeline for some transit improvements, not just downtown, but this money is for citywide use. And when I realized that we may not really be getting a piece of the action on that, if you will, it'll be a benefit to downtown. But right now, I would like to be more focused on the other transit issues as well as building our downtown from the ground up. I'm not comfortable because I know when I look at these numbers, I know we're going to hit 1 million. There's no doubt in my mind we're going to have the $1 million bathrooms when it's all said and done. So it's not that I'm not supportive of this idea and not in disagreement with the benefit that this would have. I'm not certain that there are enough details in front of us or that the timing is right to go forward with this in lieu of something else. Councilman Roth?
Thank you, Mayor. It just goes back to what I was saying earlier. I'm not against this at all. It's the details that I'm lacking in this. You know, the thought process, the plan. We have to work in cooperation with the operator of the parking garage itself. We have no agreement with them. We have no ability to recoup any of the dollars. People will say, well, it's not really taxpayer dollars. Yes, it is. And if we're using them for the bathrooms, we're not using them for other improvements in the city where it comes to sidewalks and streets and all those things. So, I mean, it would be great to have this, but we have to do it responsibly as well. We can't just say we've got $750,000 up to $1 million, as the mayor suggests, and just throw it out there and put some bathrooms up on a roof. So I just would like some more details. I think it's a great project to see through, but the details are important to us. And like I said, we have to be responsible in how we spend this money. And what is the true benefit? Is it going to benefit 50 people in the city? You know, there's 80,000 people that live in the city. So we can't just spend $1 million for, 50 people or 60 people, whatever the number is. But I do see that there's a lot of opportunity too. You know, you mentioned car shows, you mentioned people who, will rent that venue out and they bring everything in. They bring in their bars, they bring in their food, they bring in their tables and all that stuff. So there's a few details I think we need to understand prior to making this commitment. I'm committed to seeing it through, but I really want to see the dollars and the cents to the entire project. So thank you.
Mayor, if I can, why don't we do this? Why don't we pull this item right now? In other words, not put it on consent. That gives us 3 weeks to put all this information, the additional information you're asking for. Either way, this would not have been approved till the August council meeting anyways, if you would have
Bring
put
it
on
back as a
consent.
standalone item on the August
yes,
council
sir.
agenda.
Yes, sir. Okay, that way we can get, the spaces that are going to be used, answer the PTP questions, address any concerns that we're using these monies and putting other projects off. That way we could get all those ducks in a row and answer all your questions and then hopefully move forward with this.
And we owe it to the public. It's only 3 more weeks.
Yeah.
Okay with that.
Yeah. All right, so do you want to move to defer or pull?
Move to defer.
Would the process be to defer or pull it?
Public comment?
Yeah, I think Ms. Sorrentino wants to weigh in, but while she's coming forward, Matt, what would be the posture? Hang on, what posture do we need to put this in? Hang on one sec. Go ahead, Matt.
Sorry, if we can just have a motion to make this, place this not on consent, but rather as a standalone item on the agenda, that would be fine.
Let's let Ms. Sorrentino
Susan
weigh in and then we'll go.
Sorrentino, 2610 Northeast 3rd Drive. I just want to throw up a flag of caution after listening to Mr. Roth. I don't know if you know it, but I'm in an agreement with 3i Group to put my paintings in their main floor. I've been doing this since they opened, and it's been working out great. I fill their windows until they rent out the space, and everything's been just really great. Last week, I go in once a month, put in new paintings, rearrange, take some out. Last week, I got there on Wednesday, and it started pouring when I first got there. So The manager let me in. She's great. She works with me. We get along great. She had to go do some other things. In this pouring rain, the whole back of the inside of the space where I have my paintings, pouring down rain like a waterfall inside the space. And if it wasn't raining when I was there, I would have never seen this. And so the puddle was probably this big in about an hour. And so I look at my paintings. Any painting I have, any large painting with a 1 inch, which is a narrow stretcher bar, is warped. So that if I hang it on a wall, it won't hang flat. And, you know, we have no agreement for if there's damage, et cetera. So when the manager came back in, Karen Franklin, I said, look, what's happening? She goes, oh, wow, I didn't see that one. I know we had some problem in the theater. And I said, well, I came to rearrange, but I think I need to take out these paintings that are damaged. And so she was fine with it. I said, I'm not going to take all of them out. I'll leave the ones with the thick stretchers that are smaller because I did commit to do this. She was in agreement, fine. So I took out, I had 60 paintings there. I have 15 there now. A waterfall inside the space makes me think, uh-oh, there's something compromised above. Leak in the theater, something's compromised above. When I go to the cyber library with my grandson, I go about once a week. If you get there when it's raining, it is pouring around the drain pipes, not just in the drain pipes, from the upper levels of the parking garage, pouring down where it's flooded. You know, it drains off eventually, and it's not that big of a problem, but there must be something wrong with the construction on the upper levels. So all I'm doing is throwing up a flag of caution, get someone, an engineer to check it out. And I would hate for all this enthusiasm, which I'm so excited about and so in favor of, go ahead and do this and have the whole damn thing fall in and people get hurt. So I'm just letting you know. And I had to let you know.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate that.
Okay. I'll take
All right.
my little trolley.
So did we have a motion to pull and have this as a standalone item? Moved by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilwoman Avila. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right.
Just to answer Ms. Sorrentino's question, staff did engineering plans. Right, you had an engineer go and see if it was structurally sound. So.
Right, exactly. We're working with the engineer. They're doing an analysis as well. And we did reach out to Karen on I-3 about the leak that Ms. Sorrentino reported. They looked at it. They said it's a minor leak, and they're addressing it.
Very good. All right. Next item is tab 5, motion to place our number 3599 on the council agenda, request for waiver of usage fees. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Courtney Vegas Sports Athletic Foundation is requesting that Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to approve a waiver of usage fees in the amount of $585 for the use of Mayor Roscoe Warren Municipal Park in order to host their 7th annual Stomp Out Sickle Cell 5K Walk Run Homestead. The event will take place at 8 a.m. on Saturday, October 1st, 2022. The walk and run is about bringing awareness and improving the quality of life for people with sickle cell disease and related illnesses. The walk run is open to the public to register. Local vendors and businesses are welcome to participate as well, and I believe they are here.
Thank you. Anything to add to the presentation? Come on down and give us your name and address for the record and anything else we need to know. And again, thanks for enduring our meeting tonight.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is LaWanda Bragg, 2911 Southeast 13th Road, 106, Homestead, Florida, 33035. I would first like to humbly say thank you for the support of Mayor and Council over the past 7 years. This is the 7th annual. Sickle cell is a disease that's underserved and misunderstood. It is individuals that from African American ancestors from Central America, South America, Mediterranean, Italy, Greece, Turkey are all affected by sickle cell disease. Prior to 1983, individuals were not informed if their family members had sickle cell trait. In order to have sickle cell disease, two parents would have to pass the trait down to the child. And unfortunately, there are individuals living as adults that's learning that they have this trait that they had no knowledge of. Over the past 7 years, we've been blessed to be able to educate, advocate, and raise awareness within the city of Homestead of sickle cell disease. There are many council persons have attended the walks, and I thank you all again for that. Families have realized that they don't have to travel all the way to Miami to contact individuals or fellow warriors to know that they don't stand alone. I did take the initiative to get certified as a sickle cell education counselor so that I can help individuals in the local communities. They have reached out. Families are very appreciative of being able to contact someone locally that understands and can help them navigate to different resources within the city of Homestead. So we do once again ask for the waiver of fees so that we can continue our efforts in raising awareness of this unforgotten disease.
Thank you, and thank you for your years of service and focus on this. Council? Councilman Roth.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not sure where we have been going with these types of issues, if we have pulled these and we just pay it, so there's no, waiving of fees. I will cover the entire thing. If anybody else wants to jump on board with me, then we will get this covered, and it won't be a waiver of fees. It'll be paid through
Paid from
council budget.
budgets.
Okay?
Agreed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, you got it. Thank you,
Appreciate
Luana.
it. Thanks you again. Thank you again for staying with us tonight. Okay. Tab 6. Motion to place car number 3609 on the council agenda, ITB number 2022-19, downtown Homestead signage.
Thank you, Mayor. At the September 13th, 2021 COW, staff presented the Downtown Homestead family of signs for consideration by Mayor and Council. Staff then moved forward to define a pilot area for the deployment of the wayfinding and street signage. The pilot includes 6 wayfinding directional signs, 3 wayfinding maps, and 19 street signs. A presentation of the pilot area overview and signage mock-ups was provided at the May 10th, 2022 COW, and Council selected the deep blue sign variation for the street signs and the orange-yellow variation for the wayfinding signs. The item was deferred at the May 18th, 2022 Council meeting to allow staff time to explore a potential piggyback procurement, which was unsuccessful due to the vendor being non-responsive. Staff recommends Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to award ITB 2022-19 to Doral Digital Reprographics in the amount of $92,311 for the Downtown Homestead signage project.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And just to clarify, although it's in the package, this does not include the iconic signage. We'll deal with location and design of that at a later date.
You're absolutely correct.
Okay, thank you. All right, Council? Moved by Councilwoman Avila. Second by the Vice Mayor. I do have one question or comment, and all joking aside. I've never been sold on the DH. Can we at least, the little icon on the top with the DH, maybe put Downtown Homestead, laser spell it into the disc where it says Downtown Homestead?
If that's what Council's direction is, of course. Of
Council?
course.
Yeah. Okay. No, not here. If you turn to the signs that have the DH, let's say, for example, the orange directional signage, perhaps here in the arch, downtown, and then Homestead, in a font that would match whatever fonts used for the directional signage. At least it would spell it out. I mean, you've got the logo, because, a lot of locals, you kind of have to explain what that is.
We hear you, Mayor. We'll make the change.
Yeah, okay. We're good with that? All right. All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any public comment on the downtown signage expenditure? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, very good. Thank you all for the DH accommodation. You know the story that no matter how old we are, we're always 14 years old? You'll hear it again. Okay. Next item, tab 7, motion to place car number 3584 on the council agenda, amended map for placement of public art. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. The Public Art Committee presented their work plan for fiscal year 2021-22 to the City Council at the October 13th, 2021 COW meeting. Since the meeting, PAC membership selected an alternate location for placement of the one sculpture which requires council acceptance prior to further development and implementation. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the amended map for the placement of the public art, which reflects an alternate location for the sitting of one sculpture.
Thank you, Mr. Manager.
And I'm sorry, Ms.
Yeah, I
Sarantino is
believe
here.
the chair of the Public Art Committee is with us, so wheel on down. Yeah. So, just clarify, the one sculpture is the globe that's composed of hands. Ms. Sortino,
That is the
welcome
very
back.
first thing. Hi, everybody. That is the very first sculpture that, as a group, we were so enthused about, was the globe. Originally, it was going to be at Homestead Station. After exploring it, it was going to be just too hard to get it over there. They didn't want it to block their windows. So we looked around the city, and what a perfect place it is. I suppose you have the map there in front of you. Is it called Park Avenue or Park Street? That Parkway. It goes right past Miami-Dade and right across where this building is. It's a wonderful spot. It's a wonderful spot for this sculpture. In working with the artist, she said now that it's in that large, thinking of going into this large plaza, it shouldn't be on the ground where it might be thought of as a playground toy. You know, we don't want kids jumping on it, climbing on it. It's a work of art. I am so enthused that this has survived the 2 years. The artist designed a pedestal that goes up 80 inches, and then the globe is now 60 inches. So this is 11.5-foot sculpture. So it's a nice, impactful thing to come off of Park Avenue and see this. If you're walking over to City Hall, it's present. It's still the many different hues of hand color. It's an all-inclusive, we're all one. I'm so excited about it. And you know, I have learned now that it takes a long time to create an idea, put a pencil to it, and finally get to see you guys again. And I'm so happy to be here. Changing our work plan is the first step for this project to go forward. What we've decided is that there needs to be a different artist contract, because when we...
That's the next item. Let's deal with the placement of the art, and then we'll...
Okay. I think it's a wonderful place. I think this sculpture will be beautiful. We went out and took pictures of it to scale there. So I would just, any questions you might have, I'm able to answer. I think the artist might even be online. It's Marucci.
Is the artist online?
Deborah
Michelle?
Marucci, or the last name Marucci? No, she didn't get on? Okay, I could answer your
All right,
questions.
Councilwoman Oval is first.
Thank you, Mayor. I was happy with the original idea of in front of the showbiz area, but I think this is a much better spot.
Me
I'm much
too.
happier with this. You know, my daughters, and I know a lot of children like to do cartwheels on the artificial grass area in front of showbiz, and so I did for a moment, I was a little sad that that might be in the way of doing that, but I saw the bigger vision with the art piece there. But this, I think, is a much better spot. I like that it's on a pedestal. I think it's Instagrammable, so I think it will be attractive for tourists and a great thing to promote for our city. And I love the hands and the uniqueness of
I
that.
still love it. I love it so much. And it gives you 80 inches. It gives you plenty of room to have pictures taken with your family around it.
Absolutely. So I support
Yeah.
this item.
Councilman
Thank
Roth.
you.
Just real quick, when are we going to get it?
I'm sorry?
When are we going to get it? When does it come out here?
When is it going to be there?
Yeah.
The artist gave us a timetable. She could start it in October if you give her a deposit, and we have a contract for her to sign. And she says 6 months, but I know she could be pushed sooner. Right now, materials are hard to come by and also the paint. It's a premium with this pandemic thing. But she feels confident. If she's pushed and she could get all her materials that she needs for it, it could be 30, 60 days. But she says she really would love to have 6 months because she can't control obtaining the materials.
Sure. So what's holding up the contract?
The contract, well, we need to approve the
This new
revised
space?
plan,
Okay.
first of all, the
Okay.
new space.
Okay.
Then our legal department would have to draft up an abridged contract. We gave them a copy of West Palm Beach's abridged contract, which is basically if we want to buy a sculpture from someone who's not a large corporation, they sign a shorter contract. And what this will do is the city of Homestead will prepare the space for the sculpture to come to. Might need lighting or whatever, so they'll prepare it for us. They'll use Art in Public Places money to do that. And then the artist has a timetable and will come and put up the sculpture. So it's a lot easier. It's not hiring architects and everything else that's involved in the long 24-page contract.
Great. I think the next question is, can we expedite that, Mr. Manager?
Yeah, once you approve the location, remember, she said the plan changed a bit because now there's a pedestal, right? So I'm sure that has something to do why the agreement hasn't been approved already. So once we get the approval of the work plan and the new location, we could definitely go ahead and expedite the process.
This is so exciting. Yes.
Yeah, no, I think we're all ready to see it out there. I figured it was on its way already, but this is news to me. So I'm going to make a motion to move it, and I know there's more discussion, but I'm going to make a motion to move it.
All right, and then I think Vice Mayor's first, and then back to you.
I just want to make a question. I have a question, and I'm not sure if it's to staff or to Susan, but I want to vote on this, on the location, and then I'll ask my question.
Yeah, Councilwoman.
I just noticed driving by this past week, the parking area that abuts this main road, Maury, it's really dirty. So if we need to get it like pressure cleaned, even behind the bumper, the parking stops, that area needs to be cleaned up more, please. And also the cracks within the big wide sidewalks that are around the platform of this main area, the caulking is lifted and chipped away, so we need to get that redone.
Even
so
at the steps into
Exactly.
the east doors.
Yeah.
Thank you, Council.
you.
We'll follow up with facilities, and we'll take care of those immediately.
Good. Councilwoman Fairclough-Staggers.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm really excited about this. I absolutely love it, particularly because of the diversity that is reflected here in the different shades and hues of handprints representing one. I really, really like that. Because this is so unique and so dynamic, I think the lighting should be included. Because on here it says lighting is an optional element. I think we should still be able to appreciate this in the dark. So the uplighting, I think, would be a definitely value add for us to appreciate it at night.
I agree with you. The artist agrees with you. We put it in the proposal. So that will be part of what Homestead will do in preparation for the sculpture delivery. And again, it comes out of Art in Public Places monies.
Okay. So the fact that it says optional element, that's just,
I didn't put that in there. I
Okay.
don't know.
okay, I think it should be included.
I agree.
If I may, just for a point of reference, in the
That's the
next item,
contract.
it shows it as lit in the pictures in the next item. If you go to the
In
pictures.
the next tab,
In the next tab. There's some pictures of it.
in the work plan.
Yeah. It shows the pedestals lit up, or at least lights from the bottom.
Yeah,
illuminating it
recessed
going
lighting
up.
is what we're requesting.
Yeah, so as long as it looks like that when we're done, I think we're all happy.
Sure. And just real quick, a bit of history. When it became obvious that the site of first choice was just not meant to be, I accompanied Ms. Sorrentino and Mr. Hennis kind of, we all had some different ideas as to, okay, option 2 is somewhere here on what we call the City Hall Plaza. We wandered around for a long time on a really hot day, and we all kind of came to that aha moment. This location is not really, I don't think, what any of us first had in mind. If you get a chance, you walk out there and you can see there's a line of sight to the entrance of the Miami-Dade building, over to the Washington Avenue intersection, coming from the light at Flagler and Civic Court. That's just the perfect location, kind of a beacon. The visual and the line of sights really surprisingly work at that place, that location, and there's electrical in the ground to fire up those accent
And the
lights.
busway too, as people exit the busway, they're going to walk right
True.
by it.
Yes, right there outside the windows of the new Miami-Dade building. I want to commend the committee for seeing that after, that was brought back to the Public Art Committee, and I think they were all on board. So did we already have a we did. We have a motion and a second, and you had a question before.
Yeah, this question, the same wow factor that this is providing the city, do we ask staff to, if we wanted to look at the Welcome to Homestead when you come off of Campbell on exit 2, is that a staff or would that be a Art and Public Places?
That's staff. Those are
Yeah.
signs that the city
Signage
went ahead
is
and put up.
It's a PTP money.
Okay.
The mayor is correct. Those are PTP funds.
Okay. Yeah, I think we ought to look at that. We ought to look at that sign when you come off of Campbell Drive, just spruce it up.
Certainly the committee could help us, kind of give some.
With our
some
16
advice.
hours a year, we meet to do all of this.
Well, I hear the CRA building's empty. You all can go meet over there.
Okay.
Woke up Kamitra. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the location. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Very good. Next item is tab 8, motion to place car number 3583 on the council agenda. The amended 2021-22 Public Art Committee work plan. Councilwoman.
Thank you. So this is for the actual item itself, correct? This is the tab to approve the globe.
The first one was for the moving of the location. They should have been in reverse order, I'm sorry, but the first one's, you're okay with the location, the new location here in the plaza. This one is for changes to the actual work plan that was proposed in 2021.
So hearing that she hasn't really started with the artwork itself, correct?
No, we have to contract her and agree on the price, and she needs a signed contract and a deposit check, and then it's paid off throughout the progression of the work.
Is it possible to make it bigger,
To make it bigger,
the globe itself? Because it's just 5 feet in diameter.
5 feet's pretty big. If my hands are extended, and on an 80-inch pedestal, it's pretty big.
So the committee is
Yeah, we agreed
proposing
on
this.
it. Others, the original one was only 48 inches that we had originally. We went to the 60 inches because she happened to be working on one for West Palm Beach, and she said it was just beautiful.
Okay.
So she sent us pictures of it, and it's big.
So the pedestal's 80 inches or the overall height?
No, the pedestal's 80, and then you add the 60 inches of the globe.
Okay, so it's even going to be over the vice mayor's head, so that gives you an idea of how high in the air it really is.
I just want to make sure that you weren't holding back any reservations, that, you weren't, that you would have, if we had asked you, you would have said, yes, let's go bigger, but you're fine with
No.
this the way it is. Okay.
We've been very cautious. Nothing's been done until you guys say okay and sign a contract and give it to her. Then she buys the materials. It's commissioning a work of art.
I know, I'm just saying that you weren't holding back to offer it to go bigger, but was worried that we wouldn't want it, so
I don't think you need it bigger.
that's fine, okay.
It's big.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the design.
All right. Now, is that a motion to approve the amended art plan, which is more than one project? Just to be clear. Okay, very good. A motion and a second. Is there
Wait,
anything?
wait. The amended art, the plan itself involves many things, not just the one sculpture. So I just need for you to pause a moment. Would you please describe the items that were amended?
Yeah, let me just read it into the record, and she
Thank
could
you.
describe the 4 or 5 items that are actually
Very good.
moving around.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. The Public Art Committee presented their work plan in the 2021-22 council meeting on October 13th, 2021 COW meeting. Sorry, not council meeting. Several projects of the elements of projects presented during the October meeting have been revised by PAC membership and requires council acceptance prior to further development and implementation. Staff recommends that mayor and council approve the amended 2021-2022 PAC work plan. And if you look at the exhibit, I'll go ahead and read the four items, so at least everybody knows. Number one, placement of the one sculpture, which we've already spoken about in the plaza. 2 is the Florida City Gas Art Donation Project. Right now, Florida City Gas, is my understanding, has to contribute $100,000 into the Art in Public Places program, and so they're working with a PAC, and I believe they want to put an exhibit on Alex Muxo Boulevard, if I'm not mistaken.
I know they're working with David Hennis on it.
Okay.
They've consulted with us through David.
Right.
But it's $100,000. They're in lieu of funds. And they wanted to do something where we wanted it, which is like wonderful, instead of in a parking lot somewhere. So you know more about it than I do right now.
Right.
But it had to be added to our work plan,
Right.
because we'll have to approve it at some point.
Okay.
Next one is a call to artist sculpture. Number 2 creates a call to artist for an abstract public sculpture featuring bronze and alternate medium, which celebrates the location and history of early Homestead. Anticipated cost of that is about $200,000. The last one is a sculpture garden feature, which they'd like to go ahead and put in the sports complex on Kingman Road. And lastly, there was a bronze bust of Mr. Chrome and his wife, which have been deferred for them to do some research on.
That's the one point. The rest of it is wonderful. We finally get going on it. The last piece, the chrome sculpture, we're calling it, but what it is historical figures. We wanted to do dedicated type figures. We're calling it the chrome sculpture because on a list of 23 names of people who have made significant contributions to the city of Homestead, that we thought we wanted to keep our historical background of Homestead alive, we chose Mr. Crome. William Crome was researched by the PAC as best we can. You know, we're not attorneys, we're not vetted to do detailed background check. But out of the list, he came up on top as the most possible candidate for our first project. And we want to do a bronze sculpture of he and his wife Elizabeth for their contribution. That was on our work plan. I was asked, I guess somebody did a background check on him. I'm not sure, was it your department?
Mayor, to not belabor the point, we did a research, something came up, and we thought it would be prudent to defer this particular item for now until further background check can be made to make sure there isn't an issue in the future.
My problem with deferring is this, excuse me. When you defer this one project that we've spent so much time to develop, you're really deferring all of the tribute sculptures that we kind of envision for the city. And in doing that, we don't have time as a committee to go further with all of them, you know, spend all that time. What we would like to see is, I would love for you to accept this revised work plan with that last item, we'll call it the chrome sculpture, to be discussed at the next COW meeting. Now that I have your attention, I want to stay here. And maybe we can put it in front of the committee and let them decide and direct PAC. You know, we report to all of you. If you want us to continue with these tribute sculptures, we'll be glad to, enthusiastically. If after we look at Mr. Chrome, which was our top pick, and you decide, nah, we shouldn't be doing this, then fine, we'll stop. But to defer it now, I think is premature. I think we need to put it before the committee. Respectfully, Mr. Estrada.
Before we get way too far out in the weeds, it's not in the agenda packet tonight.
Right.
But I'm thinking procedurally, we adopt the amended work plan that is before us. And we have the opportunity, perhaps next month, to bring back an amendment to the amended work plan to include that chrome sculpture after the manager has had the opportunity to brief the entire council on the outstanding issue.
You know the procedures.
And
I
I think procedurally that's what we have to do.
All right. I just didn't want it dropped.
No,
you know, we've put so much time into the one sculpture, the chrome sculpture, and then we want to do another major one for
I
the
don't either, and
plaza.
the manager knows I don't want it dropped, but, you know, we've got to have disclosure among council as to the issue that has arisen. And, you know, you and your committee have my assurance that, you know, if we bring it back forward as an amendment to the amended work plan, you're looking at maybe a month delay. No, we're not talking about next year.
Right.
Councilwoman Fairclough-Staggers.
Yes, thank you. I know the committee, you have put a lot of sweat equity into this work plan, and you have vetted these figures to the best of your ability. I wanted to be very clear that I don't want to rush this process when it comes to creating a bronze of a figure in this community, because it can be a very sensitive topic. So I would like more information on the research that you all have found regarding the chrome sculpture and any sculpture of a figure, a public figure that we put into our community. Given everything that's going on in our country and in our community, we have to be very, very careful on who we're creating bronzes in memory of. So this is a very sensitive topic, and I think we can't rush this. We have to get it right. Even though it may take a little longer, we have to get it right. And I don't feel comfortable moving forward with the bronze in memory of Chrome or anyone else until it's properly vetted, absent of how long you've spent on this. If it's rushed, it doesn't feel right, and we have to get this right.
I agree with you. And we report to you, we being PAC. So what you feel is the right thing to do, how to proceed, what's the proper way to do it, we're here to serve you. Okay.
All right, so we had a motion and a second to approve the amended work plan. Any further, Councilman Roth?
Just a question. Once you start to place these pieces of art around the city, will there be an organized, like a brochure that people can obtain somewhere to go and actually visit each of the locations throughout the city?
I'm going to let you in on a little discussion that PAC has had off and on all year. We would love for you to walk up to a sculpture and scan it with your phone.
There you go. Yeah.
A code, and it tell you, oh, you know, I'm Mr. Chrome, and I did this, and I did that, or whatever it is. This globe sculpture means, and whatever the artist has described its meaning as. so that it will have a narrative. And I would love for us to have an art walk to each of these public art pieces. I would love that. So we're on the same wavelength, but I want to take it the step further. The scanning of it, I believe there's something in Losner Park with a scan on a wall.
Yep.
I think that's probably the way for us to go. I would love to see that.
And the sculpture that sits here on Washington, does anybody know what that is?
Yes.
The sculpture
Elvis.
that sits on, is that Elvis?
It's not Elvis. I'll tell you a
The
little
one on
history.
Washington we're talking about, Mayor.
It looked like Elvis because someone put a guitar in his hand. Originally, it was a tourist, and he had a map in his hand. And this sculpture was given to the city, and it was put there. I inspected it almost 2 years ago, and it's very rusty, and I made the recommendation to PAC that it be removed because it's falling apart and it would cost more to refurbish it than to remove it. It all kind of ended flat when the person who dedicated it was objecting and didn't want to sign the paper to actually give ownership to Homestead if we were going to remove it. So I just let it lay there because I'm glad you brought it up. I would like to see it gone, but that's my personal. I know there are people on PAC that want to see it refurbished, but we never voted on it.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mayor. Thank you.
It's scary.
Thank you. All right. So, yes, Councilwoman.
You brought up something very interesting. I really like that feature where you can utilize your phone to scan a QR code and then get background and history. We can market that as like smart sculptures in the city where you can use your smartphone and find out the historical significance of sculptures. So yeah, smart art, smart sculptures.
Yes.
So we can play up on that and market
And
that.
we could roll that out to the bike path.
Yeah.
You know, you stop and there's a pedestal and you scan it.
Scan
and go,
it.
You see this marsh, or
there's
this is
smart
where
art
these
in-
birds
I love
are.
it.
And I mean, it could be really wonderful, you know?
like
I really would love to see it. Or you see this huge building called City Hall. This is what we did, and this is how we built it. Or this is where Hurricane Andrew was, and this is what happened. It's a learning that I love the idea too.
Right, so we have a motion and a second, and if there's nothing further, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Your amended art plan is adopted.
It's so nice seeing all of you. I hope I see you next month too.
Now, if you could just get somebody to bring us an artist contract in short order, we'll be
Artist
in good shape.
contract, then we'll be like, we started something. Thank you
Yeah,
very
I know,
much,
definitely.
everybody.
Well, and I think what we need to do an abundance of caution, because I think we've got 3 pretty lengthy items ahead of us. I'd like to do 2 things. Move to extend the meeting to 9:15 and take a 5-minute recess. Moved. Second, all in favor? We'll be right back.